This video is made for training purposes by the Small Scale and Micro Irrigation Supports Project in the Amhara region in Ethiopia. The purpose of this video is to give a short overview of the methodology of participatory irrigation development and management, or PIDM. PIDM is an integrated watershed-based approach for participatory and gender-responsive development and management of small-scale irrigation systems in Ethiopia. So what makes this methodology better than other methodologies? The PIDM methodology involves the participation of all female and male farmers in the new irrigation scheme. By letting farmers participate in the design, the scheme will be built according to the future use of the system. This way, the design will be more sustainable. Also, the farmers will develop a sense of ownership and responsibility for the new irrigation scheme. This is crucial for the future of the operation and maintenance of the new irrigation system. The PIDM methodology has 4 approaches. The first approach is the integrated approach. The overall objective of the integrated approach is the development of sustainable and profitable irrigated agriculture by male and female farmers within the command area of the small-scale irrigation schemes. The second approach is the watershed-based approach. This approach reduces the impact of siltation problems, unreliable water supply, and more frequent floods on the performance and sustainability of the small-scale irrigation schemes within the watershed by improving soil and water management in and around the command area of the small-scale irrigation scheme. The third approach is the gender-responsive approach. The gender-responsive approach ensures equal participation of female and male farmers in the design, usage, and management of the irrigation scheme. The fourth and last approach is the participatory approach. This approach ensures that all male and female farmers are fully involved, informed, and consulted during all stages of the small-scale irrigation development process. So who are the main stakeholders involved in the PIDM methodology? The main stakeholders are all male and female farmers, governmental institutes such as the Bureau of Agriculture, and the private sector. At Kabele level, it is the development agents, the Kabele Council, and the Land Administration and Watershed Committee. Other stakeholders are those who provide external service, such as agricultural research, input supply, agricultural extension, credit supply, marketing, and agro-processing. To ensure that the PIDM approach is implemented in an integrated and coordinated manner, it is vital that all concerned stakeholders work closely together during all steps of the PIDM approach. Cooperation and coordination is key. The PIDM methodology also ensures that gender equality is central during the process, so that both male and female farmers have the opportunity to equally participate in and benefit from the development of the small-scale irrigation scheme. PIDM has 21 steps, 4 phases, 6 exits, 3 milestones, and the time to carry out these 21 steps is estimated to be 25 to 40 months. The first phase is the assessment phase. During this phase, a comprehensive feasibility study will be carried out and the community will be informed about the plans for the new scheme. The second phase is the preparatory phase. During this phase, the community will participate in the scheme design and the irrigation water users associations are formed and trained. In addition, the plans for agriculture and irrigation will be written. The third phase is the implementation phase. During this phase, land will be acquired for the construction of the new dam, and reallocation and compensation for the concerning households of the new acquired land will be arranged. The fourth and last phase of PIDM is the operation and maintenance phase. This phase is a continuous phase carried out by the management committee members, the operations and maintenance subcommittee members, and staff and the leaders of the water users group. To understand the PIDM methodology better, we will summarize PIDM step by step. Step 1. The first step is the registration of the application for small-scale irrigation scheme development. During this step, all concerned farmers, male and female, have to prepare, submit, register and review the small-scale irrigation development application. The preparation of the application development is in collaboration with existing informal water users associations, if there are any. The application development has to be submitted to the concerned government institutions at WORDA level. If the application for small-scale irrigation development has been rejected, the new irrigation scheme will be terminated. If the application development is approved, the process will continue to step 2. The pre-feasibility studies. Feasibility means capable of being done, affected or accomplished. A feasible plan. Meaning that after the feasibility studies there is a possibility the outcome of the studies show that building the scheme is not feasible. Meaning not possible or capable of being accomplished. All concerned stakeholders have to collaborate during this step. During the pre-feasibility studies, the following information has to be collected. Names and location of villages. Salient features of the existing small-scale irrigation system. Size and socio-cultural composition of the population. Size of arable and cropped area. Existing cropping patterns and yield of main crops. Water availability data, up and downstream water users. The pre-feasibility study must be submitted to the responsible government institution for its review and approval. If the pre-feasibility studies have revealed that the development of the small-scale irrigation system has no potential or has been rejected due to other reasons, the process will be terminated. If the pre-feasibility study is approved, the process will continue to step 3, the community awareness campaign. The main purpose of the community awareness campaign is to inform the concerned male and female landholders having land in the envisaged command area of the small-scale irrigation scheme about topics such as participatory approach for planning, design, construction and management of the small-scale irrigation scheme. Establishment, registration and capacity building of the Irrigation Water Users Association. Expected role and responsibilities of the male and female farmers during the different stages of the formation of the Irrigation Water Users Association. Design and construction of the small-scale irrigation scheme and the management of the new small-scale irrigation scheme. The community awareness campaign is planned as follows. At first, a meeting with the community has to be planned. Second, during the meeting, all concerned landholders will have to be informed. And third, all staff and concerned stakeholders of responsible government institutions will be introduced to the community. If the majority of the farmers are not interested in the development of the small-scale irrigation system, the process will be terminated. If the majority of the farmers approve the new scheme, the process will continue to step 4. Feasibility studies. First, it is important to form and train a farmers' planning committee. This committee can represent all concerned farmers during the execution of the feasibility studies and the participatory scheme design process. In collaboration with the farmers and the concerned government institutions, it is important to plan, prepare, and execute a number of feasibility studies related to engineering, hydrology, watershed, environment, etc. Also, it is important to execute a comprehensive financial and economic analysis. When the feasibility studies are complete, we can continue to the next step. Step 5. The preparation and approval of the feasibility reports. For the feasibility report, all the data and information that was gathered during the previous steps will be analyzed and used to prepare the feasibility report. After the feasibility report is analyzed, prepared and reviewed, it will be sent to the concerned government institute at regional level for approval. If the conclusion is that the requested small-scale irrigation development is not feasible, the project will be terminated. If the new small-scale irrigation system is feasible, the process can continue to the next step and the first milestone is accomplished. After step 5, the assessment phase is finished. We would like to point out again that this is the assessment phase, which means that each step has an exit when the plan for the new irrigation is not accepted or feasible. After step 5, we can continue to the next phase, the preparatory phase. The first step is step 6, the participatory scheme design. The following pictures were made during the participatory scheme design in Sibat Ayana in the Amhara region in Ethiopia. During this step, the draft of the new scheme design will be presented to the farmers by the designer and the responsible government institutions during a meeting. The male and female farmers can comment and feedback on the design and share their preferences for the design. This includes, for instance, the provision of social structures. After the meeting, it is advised to do a transect walk in the field to discuss the design on ground level. After the meeting, an inventory and priority ranking of all male and female farmers' preferences will be made. These preferences will be used for the final scheme design. Together with the new scheme design, the costs for the new scheme and the costs for operation and maintenance will be estimated. Then, the landholders list and the land reallocation plan has to be prepared. Also, the new scheme design will be analyzed and a report will be written with a brief description of the listed preferences and prioritized structures. This report must be signed by the Farmers' Planning Committee and the responsible government institutions. After the participatory scheme design, we can continue to the next step. Step 7. The establishment of water users groups and irrigation water users associations. For the establishment of irrigation water users associations and water users groups, another 10-step program with an instruction video is available. During this step, several meetings with the community are planned. The community will be informed about the scheme and the new roles, duties, and the responsibilities that come with the new scheme. During the meetings, several committees will be elected, registered, and trained. Following the capacity development of water user groups and irrigation water users associations, the farmers will be trained for the operation and maintenance on the long term of the new scheme. If the process of the establishment of water users groups and irrigation water users associations is completed, we can continue to the next steps. If the process of the establishment of water users groups and irrigation water users associations is completed, we can continue to the next 3 steps, which we will jointly discuss. Step 8, 9, and 10. Step 8 is the Agricultural Development Plan. Step 9, the Irrigation Water Users Association's Capacity Development Plan. And Step 10, the Soil and Water Conservation Plan. After the plans are submitted, we can continue to the next step. Step 11. The preparation and signing of scheme development agreements. Step 11 also has the last possibility for the irrigation development scheme to be terminated, if the scheme development agreement is not signed. In this agreement, the following issues are specified: detailed time schedules, conditions and milestones of the PIDM approach, and the rights and obligations of all parties involved in the scheme. If the agreement is approved, a special ceremony will be organized where the agreement will be formally signed by all key stakeholders. After step 11, the second milestone is achieved, and the preparatory phase is finished. We can continue to the next phase, the implementation phase. The first step of this phase is step 12, land acquisition and reallocation. For the development of the small-scale irrigation scheme, it may be required to acquire land for the construction of the dam and its reservoirs. As a result, households will lose their houses and access to their farmland. In addition, one or more households may have to be reallocated from their ancestral homes through involuntary resettlement. All land in Ethiopia is owned by the state. Land can be reclaimed through declaration without the consent of individual landholders. A warder administration shall, upon payment in advance of compensation, have the power to expropriate rural or urban landholdings for public purpose, where it believes that the land should be used for a better development project. The relevant legal documents and guidelines for the acquisition of land differ per region. It is important to know the details about land ownership, private property, and land use rights. In accordance with the land reallocation plan that was prepared and approved during the participatory scheme design process, Step 6, the staff of the responsible government institutions have to reallocate an irrigable plot of land to each eligible household in accordance with existing legislation and modalities specified in the approved land reallocation plan. This results in a landholding certificate for each household that has been reallocated. If the land reallocation is completed and the households are compensated, we can continue to the next step. Step 13. The tender and execution of construction works. The steps of the tender process include preparation of documents, collection of tenders and opening of submitted tenders, meetings and visits, and contract agreements. It is important to form a works subcommittee that is trained in the construction supervision and quality control for the construction of the new scheme. Also, the farmers will help with the construction of the new plan. This will be documented in the farmers' work plan. After the new scheme is constructed, a report of the final inspection will be prepared, a test run will be executed, and finally the new scheme will be handed over to the Irrigation Water Users Associations. During the tender process and the construction work, Step 14, 15 and 16 will also be carried out. Now we continue to the next step. Step 14. Irrigation Water Users Associations capacity development in governance, administrative and financial management. It is paramount for the successful development of an effective and sustainable small-scale irrigation scheme that a comprehensive capacity building program for the Irrigation Water Users Associations will be prepared and implemented. The Irrigation Water Users Associations will be trained in governance, administrative management, and financial management. Also, it is essential to establish a fully functioning office for the Irrigation Water Users Associations at a centrally located and easily accessible location within or close to the small-scale irrigation scheme, and employ administrative staff for this office. During this step, it is also important that the Irrigation Water Users Associations formulate and adopt its own internal rules and regulations. Step 15. The execution of the Agricultural Development Plan. And Step 16. The execution of the Soil and Water Conservation Plan. The Agricultural Development Plan was prepared during Step 8. In the Agricultural Development Plan are the following activities: the diversification of irrigated crop production, mechanization of farm activities and timely supply of farm inputs, and improved crop husbandry practices. The Soil and Water Conservation Plans was prepared during Step 10. In the Soil and Water Conservation Plan are the following activities: tree planting, treatment of gullies and the promotion of agroforestry, minimum and zero tillage, and soil conservation. The Irrigation Water Users Associations, the subcommittee, and the responsible government institution must closely monitor the execution of planned interventions of both the agricultural as well as the soil and water plan and evaluate the plan. Now we can continue to the next step. Step 17. Capacity development of water users groups and irrigation water users associations in operation and management and water management. For this step, it is important to form the subcommittee for the operation and maintenance. To form this subcommittee, it is important to employ staff, buy the right tools and equipment, organize a comprehensive training and support program, and provide a manual for the operation and maintenance. After this step, we can continue to the next step, the preparation and signing of irrigation management transfer agreements. After step 18, the implementation phase can be closed. After the preparation, approval, and signing of the irrigation management transfer agreement. With this step, the third and last milestone is achieved, and we will enter the last phase of the 21 steps of the PIDM methodology. We will now enter the last continuous phase of the PIDM methodology, the operation and maintenance phase. Step 19. Irrigation Water Users Association Managed Scheme for Operation and Maintenance. For this step, both the association and the water users group have to plan and schedule the operation and maintenance for the new irrigation scheme. It is important to plan this in accordance with the dry and the rain season. During the calendar year, the association can carry out the operation and maintenance according to water availability, budget, cropping pattern, and so on. We can now continue to the next step. Step 20. Monitoring and evaluation of Irrigation Water Users Association performance. During this step, the cooperative and the association must be closely monitored on financial administration, maintenance and operation, infrastructure, and the small-scale irrigation scheme. Also, a joint evaluation by responsible government institutions must be carried out, inspect, review, and discuss all small and big details from the irrigation scheme. We have reached the last step of the PIDM methodology. Step 21. Monitoring and evaluation of environmental, socio-economic, and agroeconomic impacts. The responsible government staff has to monitor and evaluate the environmental, socio-economic, and agroeconomic impact of the new scheme. To do this, it is important to define the impact evaluation, the basic principles for monitoring and evaluation, objectives of the impact, planned monitoring and evaluation activities, and impact evaluation reports. With this step, we have completed the last phase, the operation and maintenance phase, and the 21st step of the participatory irrigation development and management methodology. We hope you enjoyed our instruction video for this social and sustainable irrigation development management, and we thank you for your attention. Beta Mama Sekenalo. Please contact Smith Ethiopia for more information.